Hello everybody, DreLR here, and today we're going to be looking at adding a block from the Fabric Wiki, course video edition. We just finished adding our Creeper Heart item, which was pretty cool. Now blocks are actually pretty similar, so we could do final static block in the Creeper theme. I'll be making a gunpowder block. We could do just new block. Oops, did I import the wrong block? Yes, I did. That's why I say check the imports, because there's a good chance you import the wrong one if you just import whatever comes up first. So we could say new block, and then normally block takes in a block.settings class. We have another fabric class that helps because a couple of the block.settings, if we look block.settings, a lot of the fields are actually private or protected, so you can't access them normally. So we have fabric block settings, and we could just call of material dot, I'm going to make it organic, and then just build. So the material defines the sound used by default, as well as what kind of tools can break it, and then, of course, build because it's a factory. So we could do this, just like we did with the item. Alternatively, we could create our own custom block, which is what I'm going to be doing just to show how to do it. So I'm going to make a gunpowder block. I'm going to have it extend block. Set up the constructor. Then we can just do new gunpowder block. Similar to item, block registry is exactly the same. We're going to do registry.block, new identifier, my mod, and then gunpowder block. And then we're just going to pass in our gunpowder block instance. I think I messed up the, yeah, there we go. Let's just look through the overrides for block. There's a lot of stuff you can do. A lot of stuff specific to rendering, like should this block even show up? What sides appear? Is it invisible like glass? What I'm going to be looking for is similar to item, the click method. And so I happen to know what it's called. If you didn't know what it was called, really you just look through here until you found something. In this instance it's called activate, and that's called when an entity clicks on the block. So I'm just going to quickly clean up these parameters. Our mapping software doesn't support parameter names, which is why they all have this little underscore one next to them. You do see that the message is the method is depreciated, and that's because you're not supposed to directly call the method. You can override it. We see a lot of people asking, like, what method should I be using? Because this is, I'm not supposed to use it anymore. It's perfectly fine if you see this. It just means don't call it directly. And there's a reason for that. We won't get into it now, but you can override it just fine. And so these fields that we have here, rather parameters, are things passed in when activate is called. Activate is probably called when a player entity clicks a block, right? That's called on the block. And so we have access to what state is this block in, what is the world it's in, what's the position, who clicked on it, what hand were they using, and then block hit result probably has some extra information. Yeah, like what side did we click on, how did we click on it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say item stack is equal to player entity dot get main hand stack. So we're getting the item stack that the player is holding. If they're holding 37 diamonds, we get 37 diamonds. And then we're going to say if item stack dot get item, so the item associated with the item stack is equal to, actually I'm just going to call it equals, items dot, let's say flint. So if they're holding an item stack that has the item flint, oh, what should we do? I would spawn an explosion, but I think that's a little bit too advanced right now. What I can do is I can say world.setBlockState. If you want to place a block in the world, this is how you do it. World.setBlockState. It takes in a block pos, a state, and then an integer for some more advanced things that we probably won't be using. So I'm going to do block pos, so the position that the block is at, and then we're going to go up one, and then I'm going to do blocks.fire.getDefaultState. In other words, we place fire one block up above our current block. And that's all we should need. Let's start it up and see if it works. As you can see, we have the exceptions loading models down here, which is a good sign because that means our block registered properly. It also means that we don't have a block state or model or texture for our block, which we'll fix in a second. If we look in here, I didn't set a category for it or an item, so that's something we'll fix in a second. So what I can do now is just set block state, and then I'm going to do my mod gunpowder block, because we didn't register an item, we just registered a block. So it's not going to be in the creative inventory. So we'll do set block gunpowder block. So this is our block now. Let's grab some flint, and we're going to click on the side, and as you can see, the top lit up with fire. That's what we defined right here. If we click on it with flint, place fire above the block. It has no texture. First, we're going to fix the fact that it doesn't have an item. Sorry, just getting a drink. So, we're going to create a new item. We're going to call it gunpowder block item. And we're going to say it's a new block item. So block item is an instance of item that has a block attached to it. So dirt has an item, so the dirt item is a block item, because if you use it, you place dirt. And that takes in a block and an item.settings. So I'm going to say our block is gunpowder block. Our settings is new item.settings.group item group dot materials. Actually, let's do building blocks. And then we're just going to register that. Good conventions say your block item has the same identifier as the block it's associated with. So we're just going to do gunpowder block as well. And then we're going to do gunpowder block item. So we've registered that. Let's start up our game. You can see our item work because we have another model exception here with the item for our block. If we go into building blocks and we scroll down, we should see our gunpowder block, which we can now place in the world. And of course, if we get some flint, we can set it on fire. Of course, we don't have a translation for our block, so we can fix that now. I'm just going to do comma block.mymod.gunpowder block. Block.mymod.gunpowder block. Yep, you're right. I'm going to turn the volume down because I hear the music starting. And basically all we have to do now is add a block state and model. So I'm going to close Minecraft. I'm going to create a new folder called block states underneath my mod ID. So block states is the state a block is in. A block can have different states. For example, a furnace can be on or off. And depending on whether it's on or off, the texture of the furnace changes. We're not going to be doing anything that crazy. All we're going to do is create a new file. We're going to do gunpowder block.json. I'm going to copy over the acacia planks block state. So variance is just, it's basically switching over the different possible states of a block. our block only has one state because we haven't defined any special, like you can face this direction, or you can be on fire. It's just a simple block. So we're just going to say for every, or the default state, which is every state possible, the model is going to be my mod, and then this refers to models. You don't see that, but it's talking about the model folder. We're going to create a new folder here called block, gunpowder block. So this here refers to the model that we're going to be using. And to that regard, let's create gunpowder block.json. I'm going to copy in the Acacia Planks block model. Very similar to item, we have a parent. Cube all simply means the texture we define is used on all 6 faces of the block. Textures all is going to be my mod, oops, I can spell, I swear, my mod block gunpowder block, which references, I didn't mean to hit enter, textures block, and then gunpowder block.png, which I will drag in. I've created a simple texture based off the gunpowder texture. Let's start our game again, see if it works. I'm not seeing any model loading errors, which is a good sign. Oh, I do see the item doesn't have a model, which is fine. We'll fix that in a second. If we place our block down, we'll see it has a texture now, which is kind of cool. It should also have a translation, gunpowder block. If we click on it, we can set a fire, as usual. Now I'm going to fix this error up here. Unable to load model, my mod, gunpowder block inventory, which means we don't have a model for the block item we registered right here, this guy. It doesn't automatically pick up a model just because it's a block item. There is an easier way to set one up, though. I'm going to do models item gunpowder block.json, and then all I have to do is say parent. So the parent of this item model is my mod block gunpowder block. So all it's saying is it is a child model of gunpowder block.json, which refers to the texture over here. And because this is a block cube all model, it will appear as a block in our inventory. No need to do any sort of special modeling for this. And as you can see, we now have an item texture, exactly the same as our block model. That's basically all we have to do. We set up translations, we have custom mechanics for our block. It shows up in the building block category. Of course, we can search it up. And our creeper heart item. And that's about it. And I'll see you next time.